Hi, my name is Justine Jones and this is my brand new podcast, Starting Over, where I will be meeting celebrities, everyday people and experts and finding out what happened in their life when they needed to start over. We'll be giving you lots of advice on sobriety, on starting a new career, relationship breakdowns. There's so much to unpack here. I hope you can join us whether you need to start over or whether you just want to tune in. Please join us on this new podcast. A huge thank you to the sponsor of this series, Lost Sheep Coffee, who have provided us with the most amazing mocha iced coffees, lattes, and they also do their own coffee beans. Give them a like and a follow, because without them, this podcast wouldn't be possible, and they're fabulous. Welcome to today's episode of Starting Over. Now, today I have a very special guest with me. But before we introduce her or say anything to tell you exactly who she is, I want to read something to you. Yellow. Some people walk into your life with a light that can only be described as yellow, infusing the very air around with the silent sound of, "This will be okay. Nothing hard can stay. We will find a way. Together, we can reach calmer weather." These people, your yellows, are sunny, endlessly funny. They are warm and safe, a comforting place. They're a light things can grow in. Their heart they wholly throw in. They are cheerleaders for your win. And if you have a yellow in this life, keep them bright. They thrive on giving out light, but they fight their own dark too. They need a colour beside them to push on through. And I think they found a fellow yellow in you. And my guest today, 25 years ago, was my yellow. The moment I arrived in Manchester, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, into the living room, a vibrant bar. Now, if you know, you know, in the 2000s, it was the place to be. This person took me under their wing and she was my yellow. Oh. Since then, she has become Sunday Times bestselling author, poet. You will know her as Donna Ashworth words. I know her as my Donna, my yellow from 25 years ago. So welcome to the podcast.
That was such a lovely introduction. I'm completely over emotional now. Oh, thank you. That was adorable.
As soon as I heard those words, I felt like they were written how I describe you. When I was terrified entering this world of Manchester, this big city, and I got you as my pal to put their arm around me. There was no ego, no nothing. You were the most beautiful little bundle of Celtic loveliness that came bounding towards me. And I can still, Donna, to remember to this day, you coming up the stairs and walking towards me in the bar, and the manager said, "Oh, there's another girl that does the job you do, hosting. She's going to come and show you the ropes." And I was terrified because you never know who you're going to get. Somebody, you know the mean girls. Yes, I was like, and then I saw you and I thought, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful and she's so bubbly and everyone loved you. And I thought, please be kind. And you were yellow, you were sunshine, you were vibrant, and together, I think we shined alongside each other, two little naive blonde Celts in this big city.
Oh, honestly, I'm quite speechless, actually, because just when you were saying that, the emotions and the memories and thinking about us, how we were so, not, how do I put it? We weren't out of place in that sort of city, but we'd both come from Scotland and Wales. Yeah. And, I guess we both had our ideas about what we might like to do at some point in our lives. And we'd found that job as a kind of, this will be a good job to sort of, I don't know, meet people and get to know the city. But it was also a real, it was full on, wasn't it? If you've
It was
come,
crazy.
oh,
They just gave us the clipboard. So basically, Donna and I were the hosts. Now, it's not a big management job, but my God, do you have some responsibility? Because everyone who's anyone wanted to be in that venue at that time. We had David and Victoria Beckham coming in,
yes, all the
Justin
time.
Timberlake would be in there. Every shift, you would see someone just out of this world. There was paparazzis. Now, you can imagine everyone then wants to be in that venue. So we were the ones in charge of the guest list. Now, we had the bouncers with us who were fabulous, weren't they, in the security team.
Yeah.
But you'd have people trying to befriend you because they knew if they were your friend, they'd get a table if they just turned up without a reservation.
Yeah.
Then you'd have people shouting at you going, I booked, and you're like, you're not on the list. And oh my God, the responsibility of being sort of, what were we, 2021 in this big city with this clipboard, which was like gold dust. It was terrifying.
It was absolutely terrifying and zero training. And I mean, we were dealing with situations every single day at the coalface of sort of humanity at its drunkest,
Yeah.
or most privileged, you know, which can be worse. People who think, you know, that the world.
Oh, the name dropping was huge, wasn't
Yeah,
it? It
and
like,
the footballers, do you remember Manchester United would come in every Tuesday night, was it?
yeah.
And, you know, I remember holding back crowds of girls. And what height are you, Justine?
Like I'm 5'2". I think you're about the same as me.
Three tiny little things, you know, trying to square ourselves up and become bigger and, you know, command some respect was just hilarious. But we managed to do it. And as soon as I saw you, I suppose I saw me and immediately thought, you know, there's a friendly face that I can immediately relate to. And I remember meeting your mom and thinking, oh, you know, we're so similar. We come from such similar places. And you,
My mum talked about you yesterday. I said I was recording this with you today. And do you know her first words were? And it's quite sad as women, we sometimes say this, but as young girls, she said, oh, she was never jealous or mean, or she was just so lovely to you. And I was just like, she was amazing to me. And I think sometimes at that age, when you've got a big job like that, it would be quite easy to think, oh, this person's coming on my patch, you know. It was like you were just so lovely. And that was the first thing my mum said. She was like, oh, I love Donna. I can still remember Donna with a beautiful Scottish accent bouncing through the living room, just amazing. And like all the boys flaring, and like I'd never seen anybody making cocktails like that apart from the film Cocktail with Tom Cruise. It was just like, that didn't happen in my local pub. We just had a sort of a bottle of hooch and that was it. It was like another world, wasn't it?
a completely different world. And I remember I would come home and I would tell people about who had seen that week or whose party I had arranged, because I don't know if this fell on you as well, but I was asked to arrange some private parties through the hosting in the living room for footballers and so on. And I had no experience of that whatsoever, so I just made it up. You know, as I went along and thought, well, this might be fun. But it was a proper full-on adventure, a full-on adventure, and a real sort of baptism of fire, leaving, you know, this Scotland to come out and be amidst this world. But the friends that we made in that time as well are also lifelong, aren't they? You make that bond.
Yeah, completely. It was just a fantastic place. And even though Manchester is so big, it felt quite small. We had our own little bubble and our own little world within there.
Well, we made it our own, didn't we?
We did. We did. It was like, where are the Celtic blonde girls with the clipboards? You know, where are they? It was just like
we were running the show a few months later. Every week it was like, oh, hi, can we just come in? Yeah, in you come, girls, straight in the door.
It was crazy. But the one thing I was sort of reading about you and I'm presenting, and I did a video film a couple of weeks ago for Morning Live about panic attacks and anxiety. And do you know the biggest thing that I took from looking back at what was sort of written about you in Wikipedia and things like that was the fact that I never knew this, that you suffered from anxiety. Now, I did at that same time. Now, I remember being in the living room on a shift and having to go out the back and lie on the floor and put my legs up against the wall because
I
I
was just
couldn't.
going to tell you this exact same thing.
Are you joking?
I was just going to tell you this exact same thing. The first time I can remember back is being at the living room and being on a shift and having to make excuses, keep going outside, not knowing whether to sit, stand, and at one point thinking I'm going to faint. I'm actually going to faint, and I didn't want to do it in the
Yeah.
runway park.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that you say that.
I was lying out the back in the like in the staff room bit or the toilet out the back somewhere and just lying
Yeah,
there trying to breathe. And I did a video about that, about panic attacks because I've just started talking about it. And that
yeah,
was the time. And
yeah.
it really makes me think how far we've come because you and I hid that. We were
Mm,
two young girls in this big city with
mm,
this brilliant job, but full on job. And we both hid that. Now, if you'd said to me, oh my gosh, I got to go outside, I can't breathe, I feel like
mm.
I'm going to faint, I would have probably turned around and said, oh my gosh, I get that as well. But we
Yeah.
didn't talk about it.
There was no avenue at the time. There was no sort of, roadmap to talk about deeper things like that. You could talk about heartaches and breakups, and, there were certain sort of mental health issues that were allowed to be discussed, but you didn't talk about the darker stuff, the panic attacks, the eating disorders, which of course were rife at that time and in those
Huge.
industries that we moved in. And you certainly didn't show any weakness because there were people stood there waiting to take the lovely job that you had in a heartbeat. And that was your superpower, this confidence, this ability to be amongst people and, manage it. So if you showed any weakness, then what did you have left? So no, it was well hidden.
I can't believe, honestly, when I read about it with you, I was like, and the thing is, we were two big, bubbly personalities that no one would ever think. We
Yeah.
masked it so well. And
Mhm.
it's just crazy to look back and think, God, I wish we'd spoken to each other about it.
Yeah, I know. But look at us doing it now.
But we are. And you are, honestly, I am so proud of you. It is incredible. Like the super fans that you have. Dawn
Oh,
French, icon. Davina McCall,
oh,
icon.
love her.
Keith Hawes read you, who I love, and her husband's in fantastic actor. He's in what's it called? The big show in America.
Uh,
I
I'm
can't remember what it's called now, but he's
sorry.
amazing. These huge
Yeah,
people, and they're all the biggest fans of it. And I'm like, that's my little Donna. And to see you grow into this incredible Sunday Times best-selling author, Wild Hope was 11 weeks in the best-selling chart.
yeah.
Just incredible. Now take me back because at the time when we met each other 25 years ago, were you writing poems? Were you writing then?
I was writing songs. So when I met you, when I had the job in the living room, the reason I came to Manchester was I got signed for my album. And I had a band at the time. We were called Dot Com. It was two guys and myself from Scotland. And we were together, but the management company said to me, we will sign you, but we can't sign the boys, which was tough. But we kind of got together and agreed, right, you go. And if you get anywhere, with our music that we've all written together, you can bring us down to be in the band, you will have some scope to create. So, and this was before the internet, this was before you could TikTok and get a
No.
following or anything like that. So I moved down there to be managed by this management company. And I realized quite quickly when I got there that they weren't paying me, and I had to get a job as well between the gigs and things like that. So I was lucky enough to land the host at the living room.
So you were writing music at that time?
So lyrics were my thing, and it was always the lyrics that I loved, and I guess it's the same as poetry in a way. It's exactly this. It's words to create emotion, to get a message across. So yes, in a way I was doing exactly that, but Manchester eventually chewed me up and spat me out. It wasn't the city, it was the music industry.
Yeah.
And when I did leave amidst buying out contracts. I got another manager. That all went wrong. I think he was, well, I know he was a criminal. And
There was no protection for you at that time, 25
I
years ago,
didn't have a
even
clue
nothing.
what I was doing. So I vowed I will never sing again. I
Oh,
will never write songs again. And that's the end of that. And I moved on from that and I went into writing for magazines and things. So I stuck with the writing. But, I lost all confidence in my ability to create, lyrics that the world needed to hear, that teenage dream that we
yeah.
had. I've got something to say. And I went into practical, can I make money out of doing a bit of writing? That would be lovely. And I boxed myself in confidence wise. There's no way that sort of previous performer could ever come back out because 20 years later or whatever it is, I've got kids and you think, well, that's me now. I'm a mum. I had my fun in my 20s, and that I had my opportunity and I didn't make it or, whatever it is that you tell yourself. So to me, it's absolutely bonkers that I got another chance I created another chance or I took it, whatever happened to have another pop at getting my little messages that I was so sure I had to say out to anybody who wanted to listen. So there is a lovely sort of full circle element to it, which I'm really grateful for.
Oh, honestly, it's just incredible. And like you said, song lyrics are poems, really, aren't they?
Yeah,
They pull at your heart, they make you feel
yeah,
happy, they make you feel sad. And that's exactly what you're putting down on paper. And there are millions of people now that have read your words, which I suppose if you told yourself 25 years ago when you were sort of being chewed up by the music industry, that
yeah,
25 years later, it's okay. You're going to be a best-selling author, and these lyrics you're writing, you're not going to have to deal with the music industry, but you're going to be successful because it's going to be in books and people are going to read them and you're going to make people feel better. I
yeah.
think, my goodness, you would have jumped for joy.
You wouldn't have believed it though, would you? I
No.
mean, it's one of those things that's all too fantastical and far-fetched. It doesn't make any sense. And of course, me being me, I would have overthought it. I would have worried too much about it. I would have tried too hard. I would have said, oh, well, then I better prepare. And actually what happened is it was really quite organic. I don't even know what took over me one day, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to cut through the cringe because you have to
Yeah.
do that.
You have to let yourself go. Literally, as Elsa said, just let
Yeah,
it go.
which is hilarious because I used to be an Elsa
And me.
performer for a while, and so were you, which is, my husband and I owned a children's play centre. That's how that came about. And I remembered the first day doing it, I was terrified
Oh,
that
me.
people were looking at me and that I was going to have to, perform, and the cringe was so intense. You were brilliant at it.
Oh
How
my
funny
God.
that we both
I
did
just
that.
my God, I just remember the last, God, I haven't done it for a few years now, but I was just like, oh my God, I'm 40 and I'm dressed as a princess from the, like, is there, are any of these kids looking at me going, why is Elsa's mother dressed up as Elsa? Just like
Oh,
cringe. But you know what? That song, isn't it interesting? We were both Elsa because that song, Let It Go, the lyrics of it are really poignant to me, talking about words.
yeah, they are. They are. I used to laugh, and my husband and I used to laugh because the thing that I'm worst at in life is letting it go. It's literally the hardest
I
thing
let
to
it go, but I need to
do.
overthink it, not sleep, procrastinate, and spend 5 years worrying before I let it go.
So that the irony of that was not wasted on me. I'm singing the song all the time and trying to sing that song, when I
Oh,
hadn't sung for 15 years or whatever, and the nerves of that. And
I
that was,
think I destroyed it a few times, to be
yeah,
honest.
I destroyed it every time. I definitely had to lower the key. Um,
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I'm in my 40s now and I'm not Idina Menzel and I have to
Yeah.
down. Um, But in a way, it was a good preparation for what was to come after it. And I sometimes forget that I even did that. I just
Me
remember my
too.
husband saying, we're booking all these birthday parties. Could you dress up as Elsa? And me going, no, of course I couldn't, because I'm older than you. I was way past the point that I should have been dressing up as Elsa. Um, But he saw the money signs in his eyes. He saw, that I had, at the time, my hair was very long and very blonde, and that's all he saw was that you can put that dress on and make a bit extra money for the family.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Out you go.
yeah, out you go. I remember he booked me 6 birthday parties in one day.
What?
And I said, am I having lunch tomorrow? And he said,
Six.
do you need lunch?
That's six let it goes in one day. That's a lot.
And it was the whole, hello, happy birthday, and doing the whole accent. And, the jokes that I used to crack about Anna. They would say, where's Anna? And I would say, well, Anna is, she's in trouble. Or I would make up all this. And the whole sort of cringe awkwardness of the small talk and trying to get kids into their birthday party and the parents looking at you and oh.
Some of the parents would be like, well, I've paid you for the 2 hours, so we're just going to ignore the children. I'm like, I've got 6 children hanging off my train and my dress. Like, seriously, I know you pay me for the 2 hours, but I can't babysit 30 kids on my own. Please help.
It's proper work.
It is
work. But in retrospect, it probably did give me a little bit of, because when it came to starting to read my own poetry, writing is one thing. I love it. I could write every day, all day. I'll never run out of ideas, it just comes. But then I remember after lockdown, when it started to snowball, my sister said, right, you're going to have to read one. And I remember looking at her and going, no, I don't have to read one. And she said, well, what's going to happen from here on in if you can't even read one? So I remember the first video, the first time I filmed myself, and the absolute cringe of posting it and not wanting to read the comments, but thinking, I have to get past this.
Yeah.
If I go back, I can remember each stage of that vividly, and then come and do an event, 200 people, you can start, and then it's like, I can't do that. I think I was 48 when I started performing the poem.
Honestly, can I just say, if you're just listening to this and you haven't got it on YouTube, go to YouTube. The fact that she is that age is literally ridiculous. Do you freeze yourself in ice every night?
No, come on now. Look at my legs here.
You're so beautiful. You literally look exactly the same as you did when I first, and I'm not even joking.
You look exactly the same.
Oh, I wish.
I'm trying to embrace the getting older,
Yeah, me too.
And not worry about it. This is all part of it. And I'd love to be one of these people that would just be able to go, I'm doing it, happily and, not worrying about the changes. It's hard though, isn't it?
But it's hard, and especially because you're in the public eye now. So to speak, you really are. You've got a huge platform, a huge following. People want to see you. And like your sister said, you need to read this because people buy into people.
Yeah.
And I think your success, not only are you amazing with words, but you're so lovable. And I know I'm biased. But you are really lovable. And when I see you reading your words, this isn't, oh, I'm going to write this, it's really sort of commercial and I'm going to make money out of it. You feel every single emotion. And I feel that from you. And I honestly do think that's why you've had such huge success, because of who you are. Your heart is on your sleeve, without a doubt. Every poem and every word that you write. And
You're so adorable.
Take me back to the first book. How did you go about getting a publishing deal? Did you self-publish?
Yes.
What was that story from where you started to where you are now?
So it was lockdown, and I had been writing a poem a day for lockdown, and the idea was that this would help me mentally, because I knew lockdown was not going to go well for me because I'm a catastrophic thinker,
Me too.
You get me. This is why we get each other so well. So I thought, this will help. I'll be like a little place of hope and calm people can come to, and maybe it'll help me too. So as it looked like the lockdown was lifting round about, I don't know, April maybe, I'm not good with dates, I said to my followers who were starting to build at that point, I said, if I put these in a little self-published book, would you buy one as a kind of momentum of what we've been through here? That documented all the rules and the rainbows on the windows and all of that malarkey, you know. And I thought maybe we'll forget this one day. And I remember thinking, right, I have to be really quick because lockdown's lifting and this will be a distant memory soon. And of course it wasn't. So my followers had said, yes, of course we will. So I went on to Amazon self-publishing, which is free, sorry, and
Yeah.
really easy to do. Anybody can publish a book.
Oh,
And
that's good to know for people listening who want to sort of do something themselves.
I've got an article on my Substack for people to go and find out exactly how to do it, and it's free. Anybody can read it. So you just upload your manuscript. They check it through to check you're not doing something dodgy.
Yeah.
You know, they look for keywords and things like that, and then it's live. And there's no sort of printing, so no destroyed, unsold copies. If someone buys it, they print a copy. It's that simple.
Amazing.
So they did, they bought the copy, and about 3 months later, I remember thinking, right, all my other poems that I've been doing in the background, I'm going to put together in a book for women.
Yeah.
So I self-published really quickly because I'm somebody that thinks I'll lose my nerve. I feel good at the moment.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
it done. I might be totally useless in a month's time, and I might be like, oh, don't look at me. I can't do anything. So I literally threw it out really quickly. And that copy to the women went around the world and back 100 times. And it was only a little self-published thin book. It only had about 60 poems in it. The new version has got another 70 in it. But for some reason, it just went. And everybody, the women were passing it to all their friends. They were taking it to their going on holiday for the weekend. They were buying it for the mums, their sisters, you know, and it took off. And so, from the success of that self published book, I was then in a position where I could get a publishing deal. So, I did another one by myself because I thought, why not? Well, I'm on a roll here. It was all
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
like
Keep it going.
and then a publisher, I was introduced to a publisher by another woman who is a successful author who didn't have to do that for me. But like you were saying, there are these women out there, and they're everywhere, who are yellows and who help and who just out of the kindness of their soul say, you know, I'm already here, I've got a publishing deal. Wouldn't it be nice if you got one too?
Yeah.
And introduced me, and I've never looked back. I'm still with the same publisher, and I'm now 10 books in, five
That's
years later,
incredible.
4.5 years later. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind.
And you write about lots of different sort of things that happen in everybody's life, right? Because none of us are going to get out of here without falling in love and getting your heart
Yeah,
broken,
yeah,
without grief. You know,
yeah,
none of us want to think about grief, but at some point, you're going to lose a parent. You're
yeah.
going to lose someone you love. It is, unfortunately, the way
Everyone,
life is.
every single person.
And the book about grief, do you think when you write those words that somebody's going to read that in a funeral,
Mm.
somebody's probably going to gift that to somebody that's really struggling? It is quite a big emotional responsibility, I can imagine.
I think in a way it is, except it's doing me more good, I think, than even the people that it might be helping, because I've always been really melancholy. I've always cried for people that I don't even know from childhood. I've worried about the world. You know, stories of grief and suffering, really bad ones, would floor me for weeks, months at a time. I couldn't watch anything, you know, remotely sad or scary. I had to avoid the news and the newspapers.
Yeah.
Back, this is mental illness. You know, this is you need to bolster yourself. You need to work on that and really. But at the time, I just pushed it all down, and you know, got on with it. And so I've always had this sort of deep melancholy and need to go into the grief of everyone else
Yeah.
as well as
That's hard
my
to
own.
carry though, isn't it? I'm an empath, which obviously you are a huge empath.
Yeah.
And I do think when my best friend's mum died, I just had Charlie, so like 16 years ago,
Mm.
and she was my mum's best friend. So they were
Yeah.
really, really close. She was like she was like a mum to me. And to see, oh my gosh, to see her, I missed her mum, obviously, but the part I found the most difficult
Was her
was
grief.
her grief, like literally. And it was really strange actually, because we were brought up Catholic, and she went to church a lot to deal with it. I couldn't go to church because I was so hurt and I felt so angry that this had
Yeah,
happened to my friend, who was the loveliest, kindest, nicest person. Her mum wouldn't hurt a fly. She was
yeah,
healthy. She looked after herself. And I felt so angry because I felt her grief so strongly. And when you feel so strongly, it's blinking exhausting.
yeah. And other people would tell you to get a grip. They would
Yeah.
say it's not even your grief, you know, and there's a shame there because you think, there's something wrong with me because I'm not strong enough that even other people's grief, you know, it is upsetting me to the point where I must be a really flawed, weak person. I totally understand that. But being able to write, so most of my grief poetry came from my best friend's mum dying,
Really?
which happened, I think, gosh, how many years ago was it? I'm totally rubbish with years and dates. It's a proper blank in my brain. But we were on a podcast together the other day, my best friend and I, who's now a grief therapist because she's retrained and put all that to use for other people, which is just wonderful. But most of the poems of mine that have gone viral or have been used at all of these funerals came from that starting place, you know, and then losing my gran, and then, you know, some friends along the way. And like everybody else, family members and the world around you. Um,
Yeah.
but I
Do you
totally
think there's
understand what you're saying about, you know, we grew up together, so we lived
yeah,
across the road from one another. So it's childhood, you
yeah.
know, bonds as well. But it was her grief that upset me the most.
Yeah, just seeing you can't take that pain away. And
What
when
to
you see
do?
someone grieving, it's like, what can I do? In terms of grief, would you do you think it would be a good thing for somebody who is going through grief to read that book themselves, or and also the people who are looking on to someone grieving to read that? Can you learn a lot from reading the poems, would you say?
I think it's a difficult one to gift because there is a lot of anger with grief. And you know, being ready for grieving people's anger is a gift we can give them, I think. We can take the risk that by coming in and trying or doing something that we think is loving or helpful within reason, there are some
Yes.
silly things you can say. But if you're coming from a really loving place and you're showing up and being ready that they might show anger towards you, it is a gift that you can give them in that moment because it's understandable, you know, they don't know left from right, they're in shock, they're in complete turmoil. So there is a kind of fear of what we don't know what to say, we don't know how to proceed, we're not sure whether to show up or stay away or give grace or be
Yeah.
in their face.
Or
um
mention the person's name, because everyone grieves differently,
Always,
don't
always.
they?
Yeah.
So
So
some
with the book, it's difficult, Justine, because some people will say, you know, someone gave me that book and I threw it across the room. And, you know, and then 3 days later, I passed it and I picked it up and I went, "Ugh," and I opened it at a page and I read a couple of lines and the tears came out. And that was me, you know, and then I picked it up every now and again. And some people will say it was, they don't know what they would have done without it, you know, that it really, truly helped. So it's worth taking a chance if you can put understanding and comfort and just, I think, seeing themselves in there, the different types of grief, the different ways that shock and trauma and tragedy can affect grief, the different time scales of grief. If you're grieving up the way, it's a different grief if you're grieving down the generational line that's
yeah,
not meant to be
completely.
that way. You know, there is a feeling of, you know, when grandparents and parents go, you know, it's devastating and you know, you're absolutely floored, but there is some sort of universal flow to it that you were expecting.
Yeah.
When
It's the circle of life, really, isn't it? Whereas if somebody loses a child, is, I never even want to put
No,
myself in that headspace,
no, it is beyond what we can imagine. But I tried to imagine in writing, and I tried to write for every type of loss, and I tried to put myself in daughter's shoes and mother's shoes and sister's shoes and all of that. And I've always been somebody who some people will call it channeling, and other people will think it's just a really imaginative brain or a busy brain or whatever it is. But I've always sort of very quickly been able to go into somebody else's shoes and imagine what I think that must feel like and what might be useful or helpful.
But
So
that's your gift as well, because you feel so deeply, because you're an empath and you feel so deeply. Surely that's a massive bonus when you need to write words to sort of have consideration how other people are feeling in different circumstances.
yeah, I think so. And it was driving me mad before I did this as a career. All of those thoughts and all of those feelings were always there. But now I can be active about it. If you're stressing or you're worrying or you're overthinking and you can actively do something towards it, it's healthy. You're processing.
Yeah.
There's an end result, a use. And all I ever wanted was for the words to be useful every day, not just for funerals or weddings or special occasions, but what about on a Tuesday when you wake up and your teen's going through something, or you've just hit a wall, and you just go, I need something, I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Wanted to be able to put what I needed when I was in that place 100 times throughout my life, um, into a book that was easy to digest, so not overwhelming, so really simple, really short. Can I read this and get something out of it really quickly before, I'm overwhelmed again or
Yeah.
numb? So yeah, it was the need to be useful and do something about all of these feelings that I have all of the time to help has really helped me.
I know that's what I'm getting from this chat more than anything. Not only are you obviously a best-selling author and everybody sort of relates to the words that you write, but and you've made a career out of this, but you've actually it seems like it's been like therapy for you.
Has. It has. And that's why I brought the journal out in January, because last year I thought this daily writing, this daily sort of analysing my emotions and allowing them to wash over me. I used to be so terrified of being sad or depressed or stuck that I would fight them to the death. And now when I feel sad, I'm able to sort of say, oh, here comes sadness. In you come, welcome. You can stay a day or two. I'll make you a cup of tea. I'll sit down and listen. What is it you're hiding? What brought you here? And I don't panic. I don't think this is me now. I'm sad. I'm depressed.
I'm
I'm
going to be like this forever.
no. I
Yeah.
just think it's passing through. And I don't know if it's going to be a day or a week or, longer, but taking away the panic from that is huge because then you can step outside of it. And if you see it as a separate entity, depending on how your brain works, I quite like these visual, ways of going, here's sadness and oh, joy just came in.
Yeah.
I saw sunrise or sunset and I felt joyous and sadness is still here and there's joy and oh, have you met? Have a chat.
Yeah.
It makes me sound bonkers, doesn't it? But I am completely bonkers, and I think the best all of
You're
us
not.
are. Um, it helps me laugh about it, be more chill about it, and take the stress and the panic out of it, so that you don't become overwhelmed.
And so many people get comfort in words, and there's a buzzword now, really, manifesting and
Yeah.
sort of right journaling, manifesting. Years ago, the things that we went through 25 years ago. If somebody said to you, why did you write that down every morning? You'd think they were mad. Now we've come into that phase, which I think is super, super helpful for people who overthink like us, who have got anxiety like us, who are empaths like us. It really is so, so helpful. And there's
But
so many. I love this is my favorite.
oh,
Growing Brave.
I wondered if it'll surprise you to know this, though, Justine. So when I knew you, I was never without a copy of self-help books in my bag and in my
Really?
I carried Louise Hay all of her books everywhere. I did Reiki, so I qualified as able to do Reiki when I was 17, and I was doing affirmations every single day. I was doing Chinese medicine, and because my anxiety was so bad to the point where before I came to Manchester, I had had terrible time with an eating disorder. It came back for me in Manchester at a certain point as well. So I was doing all that then, and I was keeping it a big secret
Yeah.
because it wasn't the done thing, and I knew people would think I was absolutely mad, damaged, don't go near her. She's ready to, go at any moment. So, yeah, isn't that interesting?
That is so interesting. Like, it's me saying, "Oh my gosh, you would have done that and you were like
Yeah.
honest." But the fact that it's not saying you hid it, but you weren't showing it.
I wouldn't tell anyone, no.
You wouldn't have told any. It's just
No.
crazy, isn't it? And it's
It
such a
felt like
shame.
I had to do it as therapy, like a secret, like you're damaged.
But
And
you
you,
were ahead of the game, babe. You were
yeah,
way
I
ahead
was
of the
ahead
game.
of the game.
And I think, just writing things down, writing down feelings, making lists. Of over 40, I definitely need to make lists now. Otherwise, it goes in one year, out the other, and I've totally forgotten when somebody asks me something. But growing brave, this is definitely something that I've taken a lot from. This is my little go-to. And I think what you always say is just sometimes I'll just go, right, open a page, seeds. Everyone
Yeah,
has a mantra, and I'll just go
yeah,
into whatever. I don't, chronologically go through it. I just open it when I feel like and read a little, like, comfort zones. There's so many lovely, lovely poems in here. Run Dark Like Me, so relatable. But
yeah,
words can really lift you. And I've definitely learned in the last year, which is, obviously very recent, gratefulness. So there's ways you can wake up on a Monday morning. Well,
yeah,
there's two ways you can wake up on a Monday morning. One is, oh my God, it's Monday. Oh my God, I've got work. Oh, it's the beginning of the week. I've got the rest of the week to go through. Or you can wake up and say, I'm fit and healthy and I can get up and go to work today. I've
yeah,
got coffee downstairs. I can make myself a coffee. I'm going to get in my car. My car works. I'm going to
hmm,
go to work and do my job that I get money for.
yeah.
So many different ways to look at things. And I
Changes
think the
everything.
positiveness oozes out of you like sunbeams.
Well, and it's all so deliberate and it's all work. So every single thing that I'm not a positive person, I'm a naturally melancholy, look for the worst case scenario person. So everything that I've done, just like you said, is reprogramming the way that I think over the years, and it changes absolutely everything. I mean, there is a part of your brain called the RAS filter that when you wake up, the first like few minutes that you're awake, it waits to see what thoughts you're going to have so that it can choose what thoughts it's going to choose and filter through for the rest of the day. So, like, if you wake up and go, it's raining, I'm late, I feel it goes, right, we're doing negative, we're doing terrible things, and this could go wrong, and it brings it all to you. And that's scientific, I'm not very good at explaining it, but that's for real. So as soon as I heard that, I thought, right, the first, I'm going to tell my RAS filter when I wake up, we're doing,
Yeah.
look at that light. It's not even light yet. Like you say, be
Yeah.
easily pleased. I've got really delicious coffee downstairs. Oh, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. There's my kitten. It's Monday. And like you say, I get to go to work. I get to get up rather than have to. I get to do a job, that pays me, and I get to have kids that talk to me like rubbish.
Yeah, yeah. How old are your boys now?
So they are 12 and 16.
Gosh, yeah, mine is, well, 16 and 18 now. My gosh.
That's gone so quick.
We've got a boys' crew, haven't we?
I
Four
know,
boys between us. Who would have
not a
thought
girl
there's
in
two girly
sight.
girls? I know.
It's crazy, isn't it? And learning to understand the opposite sex and the way that their brain works. And again, it's all scientific. But this positive thinking, people think, oh, positive thinking, shut up, get up, never stop smiling, put your face on. And it's not about that. It's about going into the why and the darkness as well, which is again what the journal does. Sometimes it can feel a bit like you're delving too deeply, but there's no way, you can't go above it. you have to go through it and out the other side. You don't have to go deeply into it and stay there for
You've got to
weeks.
sit in your thoughts sometimes, haven't you?
Got
And
to
just accept
process a
them.
bit to get to the light. You've got to choose the light. You've got to seek it. You've got to become a master of being easily pleased. My sister doesn't have this massive mood swings that I have or the big thinking. She is so good at going, well, you've got to be easily pleased. Like you've got to get excited about a sandwich.
Yeah.
I get to have a sandwich every day. What sandwich am I going to have? And the joy that you can find in the tiny little things, you're never not pleased because you can always go, look at this beautiful little thing that I've got here that when the light shines through it, creates an
Yeah.
entire rainbow in
Is
my room.
seeing gratefulness and happiness in
Yeah.
really simple things. Like
And
I
then
bought some new mugs yesterday and I love
joyful,
these new mugs. Like I am delighted.
joyful.
Yeah. And I bought because I keep doing, when I wash my face, my white flannel keeps getting dirty. So I bought some charcoal color flannels and I'm delighted that my
Genius.
flannel isn't, you're not going to see my makeup and mascara.
It's
Do you know
not
what I'm
chewing
saying?
gum color.
It's just little things, isn't it? But I think the minute you start to be grateful about the little things and keep telling yourself how lucky you are,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we are all so lucky
we
in
are.
lots of different ways.
And almost every single way, you can find gratitude, and even every single negative comes with some gratitude. And there are going to be days where you can't do it. There are some days I want to wallow. I want to be miserable, but I've become good at watching myself from the outside in and saying, right, I'm giving you today. That is it. You can wallow. Have a wallow. Poor me. But the other part of my brain's going, really? Not buying it, poor you. Um, so as long as you're aware and constantly realizing that, yes, I'm going to be like this because I feel like I need to honor the grief or honor the depression or the sadness, whatever it is. But the minute you can look for the light, you get these little tap-ins at your brain that go, oh, a wee window of opportunity. I could cheer up now. I've got a choice here. I could look for something that might pull me out, or you can choose to stay. The choice is always ours. And obviously, if we're talking about deep grief, it's a completely different thing. You can't
Yeah, absolutely.
you can't
Absolutely.
put any judgment or pressure or anything on that because it's this whole journey. But even in deep grief, you can still be visited by joy and you can still have the laughter and know that the grief will not go away. It won't change the grief, but for that moment, the love is bringing you the laughter or the love is bringing you the joy. So I'm just fascinated by all of it and how we can help one another. I mean, I'm not an expert, I'm not qualified, but we're all living and we're all getting through. We're all, I mean, look at you, look at everything that you do, look at how amazing you are in this life that you've created. And there's no rule book. Nobody gives you a rule book.
We're
And
all winging it, aren't we? Like completely
I mean, yeah,
motherhood. I'm winging it. Two teenage boys. Honestly, I don't know whether I'm saying the right thing, the wrong thing.
no,
Usually feels like I'm saying the wrong thing, but
yeah,
we are all just out there. And I think the moment you give yourself a break and think, do you know what? I'm just trying my best.
yeah, yeah.
Things are a bit rubbish right now, but I'm really just trying my best. And like your book is titled, Wild Hope, you have to have wild hope.
You do. And the best things that you have are wild. And the best parts of you are wild and unrefined. And, that they are too much, or, society will tell you that. But remembering that all these parts of you that you masked all those years ago, I mean, look what you said now. It's the parts that you remember of me and I remember of you that will never change.
No.
Not what we were doing or what we were wearing, but the friendliness and the way we were kind to one another. And we just connected. We weren't ashamed to be all over each other, jumpy
Yeah.
up and downy, and other people were being cool, and not showing emotion.
Oh, they
And
were so cool. I was so not cool. But it was, I remember, and that's the one thing, you'll always remember how somebody made you
yeah,
feel.
you do.
And you made me feel
And the
safe.
same to you, by the way.
Oh, bless
You made
you.
me feel like, I wasn't the only Celt in the village.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. We're literally the two blonde girls with the weird accents.
I wonder if will be hard to understand in this podcast right
I
now.
know. I'll put some subtitles at the bottom. But going forward, obviously, you've had incredible success over the last 5 years. I've watched in awe. Now,
Oh,
what's next for Donna Ashworth?
the same. I'm really loving what I'm doing, and what I don't want to do is it for that to change to become something that I didn't want it to be or too much. I'm always going to be nervous when I do something big. I'm always going to get a dry mouth and say something silly and, trip up on the way out because that's exactly who I am and I don't see that changing. And I don't ever want to be told that I have to lose that to become slick or some sort of money making.
Yeah.
So I want to keep it, these books are here. This is what I do. If you love them, wonderful. We'll share it together and we'll all help. And any opportunity that comes my way, I pull my big girl pants up, my old woman pants now, and I go for it and I try, and I turn up as prepared as I can be, but also as honest as I can be, and try and enjoy it at the same time. So I just want to keep doing a bit more of that. And I've got a lovely children's book coming out this year.
Have you?
Very excited about because, and we could have done with this, you and I, 6 years ago. It's, mental wellness reprogramming the brain, but disguised. So it's highly illustrated. They're just lovely little poems, but each of them has a really important message about self-worth or emotions or grief or differences, friendships, the whole friendships thing, especially for girls.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that parents will do the random page that they do with all my books and see what the message is with their kids. And, it might not immediately be talking about them, but it might be somebody in their class, or somebody that they can help by empathizing with how they feel about things. So I'm excited about that and see how that
Oh,
goes.
amazing. Is that your first children's book?
Yes, it's coming
Amazing.
out in June, and yeah, I'm really I'm excited to see what it'll bring.
And what's the age range? What do you think it's going to
So
appeal
it's
to?
7 to 11
Okay.
because I felt that sort of pre-teen, that sort of towards the end of your first decade and into your second is a really formative time, isn't it? And it's the time when parents start floundering a bit as well and thinking, am I doing it right? Am I giving the right messages? Am I showing good thought processes, or am I passing on the ones that we were taught when we were young? Not in a mean way, but just because that's what everybody did. You were told to shut up and stop crying and
Yeah.
never show any emotion, never let them see your emotion. And so we're kind of unraveling that, aren't we? But how
Yeah, we're in a
to
different, like, it's changed so much since we were young. My goodness, we would be just like, my parents would be in the pub. My mum will kill me for saying this, but my parents would be in the pub, and my mum, you'd be given a can of Coke and a pack of crisps, and you'd stay there till they were all ready to leave. You'd be
yeah.
freezing.
And you
Now
think
it's a
yourself
different world.
lucky.
My parents would be arrested now.
I know, and it's completely different. And what a difference has happened in a short space of time, actually, when it comes to personal development and how we understand now that the brain works. Telling somebody to shush and push it down doesn't fix anything, and it doesn't create resilient people. It creates damaged people who are very good at hiding their emotions. But
Yeah.
at some point, they're going to have to deal with it.
Oh,
We know
that's
now that if you take it head on when it happens and say, it's all right to feel like this, this is perfectly normal, let's process it, let's have a chat about it, then you're creating resilient people who can also understand other people and empathize and therefore not be reactive or cause the problem. So it is, it's a completely different world, but I'm hoping that this children's book will, in a very simple way, again, I'm no mastermind. This is everyday, simple, boots on the ground, helpful stuff that we can do right there, right then.
And is there a title yet?
I don't think I'm allowed to say it yet because
Okay, right. We know we just watched this space, but about June time, it's going to be out.
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to announce it, I think, in March and share the cover, and it's not illustrated by me. I mean, I do my own little illustrations, but again, completely imperfectly so. But this one has been fully illustrated by a wonderful illustrator, and it's gorgeous.
Oh, I'm excited. And there's the red book behind you.
Yes.
The book that's come out now, that some poems have been seen before in this, but there's more added. Is that right?
So this is the one that I self-published that went around the world. And because it sold so many copies as a self-published book, we have republished it, but I have added 70 new poems, so more than the original amount. I kept the original content because it's really important to kind of honour the person, the version of you that you were then.
Yeah.
We all look back and cringe at our Facebook status from a few years ago.
We've said cringe so many times in this
So many
podcast
times.
because we just cringe at ourselves.
I know, the cringe is real. But I kept all the original content, but I also added, you know, what has happened in the last 4 years and what I've learned. So it comes out next month.
To the women.
To the women.
And where will we be able to get that?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Hopefully, all going to plan everywhere.
Amazing. And that's a month's time?
Yes. So depending on when this podcast comes out, Feb 13th, just in time for Galentine's Day. So I'm going to send you one because you can my Galentine.
Thank you, my Galentine.
Very much.
I honestly, I am beaming with pride every time I see you. You've created such a following and such a brilliant gang. I don't want to say girl gang, because I don't want to eliminate the boys out of this.
Yes, I know.
As well.
And I do have a lot of men in the gang now, but it is also quite joyful to be able to just say this book's for women.
Yes. I know exactly, but it's just for us. It's to the women from Donna Ashworth. You are an absolute legend. And give her a follow on Instagram. If you see the books on the bookshelf next time, open it up, just pick a page, have a read, and I promise you, you will feel like a big warm hug. And she's my old friend, but I don't like to say old, but we are old friends now, darling.
Long friends, I think.
Forever friends.
Yeah, because look at us reconnecting now, and that'll be it now. We're not letting go again until we're doing this when we're really grey and wrinkly.
Really grey and wrinkly. You'll be on book number 60. I'll still be trolling around the country, hopefully still presenting if anybody still wants me.
100%.
I'm so proud of you, and I am honoured to have you on the podcast Starting Over. You are incredible, and if you are starting over on your journey, her words are beautiful, uplifting, and will give you all the big warm hugs, motivation and gratefulness that you need. And thank you so much. I am so thrilled.
It's been a joy. Thanks for having me.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and tell your friends about this brand new podcast, Starting Over. And we will see you on the next episode.